Hi, welcome to Reform Tech channel. In this video, we'll talk about VPC, Subnet, route tables, Internet Gateway, and Nat Gateways, and we'll also see how to configure it. Alright, so VPC. VPC is nothing but the virtual private cloud, so it is something a dedicated network in AWS. You can create your own network. Alright, so for which you first have to choose the region. If you're not sure what is a region and availability zone, maybe you can check my previous video. So I'm choosing Mumbai as my region, and so I'll go to VPC. Yeah, so by default, when you create an AWS account, by default, AWS gives you VPC, and it is a good practice always to create your own VPC and do not use the default VPC. It's a good practice. So it's according to you, but it is always good to create your own VPC and launch your instances and all the services in it. Okay. So this is the default VPC which AWS has created. You can identify it with the IP address also. It will start with 172.31 something like this. Okay. So now let us create our own VPC. So I say create VPC, and I have to name it. Just giving it as Reform Tech, and the IPCID block, I'll choose it as 26 this time. Okay, 26. And so the tenancy here, you see two options. One is default, the other one is dedicated. So if you're choosing an instance which is dedicated type, then you have to go to dedicated. You have to choose tenancy as dedicated. For all other instance type like spot and those things, you can choose the default. So for now I'll leave it as default, and it is always a good practice to even add more tags, but for now I'll leave this also as it is, and I'll say create VPC. Yeah, my VPC is created now. I have a default VPC, and also I have the one which we created now. Right, so next one, the subnet. So subnets or range of IP address in VPC. So maybe I can put this this way, that subnets are nothing but if you have a VPC, you're breaking down the network. So breaking down of the main network VPC is called a subnet. You're just breaking into multiple pieces, I can say. Okay, so this IPCIDR which we gave here will have almost like 64 IP addresses. If you calculate this IPv4 CIDR, you'll see 24. It's like 32 minus 26. So 32 minus 26 is almost 8. So 2 to the power of 8 is 64, right? If you want, you can calculate, or you have some sites like CIDR.xyz. So those sites will help you to calculate the CIDR blocks. All right. Okay. So now let's go to the subnet part. Now I'm going to create 4 subnets, 2 private subnets and 2 public subnets in different regions. Okay, in different availability zones. Okay, so let me create the first one. I can create all together. So I'll create all together even now. So first we have to choose the VPC ID. So this is the one which we just created. I'm choosing this, and the subnet name, I will give it as private subnet 1. Availability zone, I'll give it as 1A, and the CIDF block 10.0.0.0/28, and I'll say add new subnet. I'll copy this, paste it here. I'll say 2. So this is 2 of 2. Okay, so the second subnet I'm just creating, and I'll put it in the availability zone 1B, and this IP would be 0 slash, sorry, it's 16/28, and I'll add 2 public. Okay, so I'll name it as public, IoT zone 1A, and this would be 10.0.0.32. Yeah, 32/28. Okay, and I'll add one more, So this is public subnet 2, and I launch it in 1B, and the IPA would be 10.0.0.0, and this should be 48. So I'm splitting into 16. Okay, I'm splitting each subnet to 16 slash 28. Yeah, done. So when I say create subnet, it will create 4 subnets, 2 private and 2 public. Okay, now we can click on the subnets and the dashboard appears. Here you can see the list of subnets which we have. So private subnet 1, public subnet 2, and private subnet 2. These are the subnets which we just created. And as we can see, we have data 16, right? We have data into 16, but you see only 11. You know why? AWS takes 5 IP address, the first 4 and the last one. AWS keeps this as reserved, so any subnets you create, any number of subnets you create, AWS takes 5 IP address out of it. Okay, so next we'll see what is a route table and how to configure the route tables. So route tables are set of rules that it determines where the network traffic is directed. Okay, so let's create a route table. So what happens is when you create a VPC, when we create a VPC, it automatically creates a route table too. Alright, you could see here, this is the one which is created by the system. Alright, now what I'll do, I'll create another route table. I will say private route table maybe, and I'm choosing the VPC here. I'm just creating route table. Yeah, now if you see, you have multiple route tables. Okay, but you see one is the main, the other one it's no. Okay, that's okay for now. So I'll choose, I'll maybe rename this as public RT so that it'll be easy for you to understand what is what. Okay, so now we have public route table and also a private route table. So in the public route table, I'm going to the subnet association. I'll click on this and I'll say subnet associations, and I'm going to associate my public subnets to this route table. Okay, so I'm going to choose public subnet 1, public subnet 2, save associations. Yep, it's saved, and as you can see, 2 subnets are associated with this public route table. And now let me choose this private, and same way I'm going to associate 2 private subnets to it. Private subnet 1, private subnet 2, save associations. Alright, so this is also associated. So route tables is done for now. We have to come back to this tab once we create the internet gateways and NAT gateways. Okay, now I'll choose the internet gateways now. So internet gateway is something, it is the one which makes you communicate, which communication between an VPC and the internet, I would say. So if you have your instance in public subnet, and if you want to access that instance, then you should have an internet gateway attached to your public subnet. So only then that instance would be accessible. Alright, so now let me create an internet gateway. I will say reform tech underscore IG. I'll say create internet gateway. It's created. So once it is created, you have to attach it to the VPC. I'll say attach to VPC. This is my VPC. Attach internet gateway. Alright, so it is attached, right? Now let's create a NAT gateway too. So NAT gateways, or this is something that like an EC2 instance can connect to the internet. Okay, so it is always a good practice to launch your instance in the private subnet. So when you launch an EC2 instance in the private subnet, no one outside the world can access the EC2 instance. But from the EC2 instance, if you want internet connection, then you have to enable the NAT gateway. Okay, for which I'm going to select a NAT gateway, and I'm going to create a new NAT gateway. I will say reform tech underscore ng, and the subnet is asking to which subnet it has to create. I'll choose the public. It has to stay in public, and you have to associate an elastic IP address. So only then it will be reachable. Okay, once this is done, I'll say create NAT gateway. Yeah, it's created. All right. So now we have created VPC, we have created subnets, we have created internet gateway, we have created NAT gateways. Now go back to the route table again, and we have to redirect the traffic. Okay. So for public route tables, I will say I'll go to routes, I'll edit routes, and I'll add one. I'll say 0.0.0.0/0. Anywhere from the world, the target would be my internet gateway, right? So for public subnet, we are associating the internet gateway, and for private, we are associating the NAT gateway. So this is the one which we just created. I'm just choosing this. I'll save changes. Done. Similarly, I'll do it for the private route table too. So I'll click on private. I'll say routes, edit routes, add route 0.0.0.0/0. Here I'll say NAT gateway and the one which we just created, right? So I'll just save these changes. That's it. So now you have your private subnet, you have a public subnet, and if you launch an instance in the private subnet, then that particular instance will have access to internet. Okay, and if you launch an instance in a public subnet, then you can access that instance from outside world. Okay, so this is about VPC, subnets, route tables, NAT gateways or internet gateway, and also how to configure them, right? And yeah, so for one subnet you can attach only one route table, but for one route table you can attach multiple subnets. Meaning, I'll go back to this route table. Yeah, we are in the route tables. So as you could see, for this is a route table. For this route table, you are attaching multiple subnets. Okay, multiple subnets can be attached to a route table, but if I go to subnets and just scroll, you see there, you see only one route table is attached, right? So you cannot attach multiple route tables to a subnet, but you can attach multiple subnets to a route table. Alright, so yeah, so this is about this video. Thanks for watching this video. Take care.